Good evening, not just crew. Welcome to tonight's show. It's the first Monday night where it's just me and the gorgeous Paul Tizzard.
Bless you.
We are here to talk to you guys about social media, being online, and how that can help you get a job, be visible, and maybe even promote your own business. Run titles, Trevor.
Not Just Crew has been internationally inspired by you.
Now people are disappointed. They've seen that, and now it's us.
And now it's just us.
We've been let loose.
I know. It's an absolute honour to be doing a show with you, sir.
It is.
You've done some fantastic contributions to the Not Just Crew page. So
I'm
excited.
Anyway.
We're going to have really good short shows that are just straight to the point, giving you good, actionable tips on what you can do to just strengthen your position now in the market that we're in. We're nearly a year on from when COVID hit the airline industry, and people are starting to find their feet. The incredible stories that we hear are Not Just Crew of people who are finding new jobs, finding new careers, and finding new passions. So we want to do everything that we can to make sure that you're in the best possible place for you to do that too.
Right. And one of the people really appreciate is the inspiring stories, but sometimes there's a place for a bit of practical stuff, and I think that's what we're going to offer tonight.
I hope so. If anybody has any questions, pop them in the comments, or if you have anything to say afterwards, please just post in the Not Just Crew group. We're also live on YouTube channel as well. This is a little test run for our new YouTube channel. So yeah, pop your comments down and please ask any questions that you feel come to you. We're going to talk about a couple of things with social media today, mainly LinkedIn, Instagram and Facebook. I'm no good at the other ones. TikTok, don't know what I'm doing with that one. I think you have to dance. I'm not doing that. And Paul is a Facebook whiz, especially when it comes to things like videos and presentations. And if you saw his fantastic post the other day about presenting yourself on camera with Zoom interviews, which seem to be the new thing, the norm now, really. And I suspect it's going to be like this for a little while after COVID hits. I think people have realized that initial interviews can be done on camera now. So hopefully these tips will help you guys. So Trevor is working behind the scenes. He's going to get us up the first little slide I've got for you, just to give you some tips about LinkedIn. Now, LinkedIn is your online CV. It's like an informal CV. So it doesn't have to be as professional and not professional as strict and to the point as a regular CV, but it's your online CV. It's representing you. So here are some tips on how to become a LinkedIn all-star. Have a professional photo. I think that's key. The photos that you've got of you down the pub with your mates pre-2020 ain't going to cut it for LinkedIn. Save those for Facebook. Yes. Paul, you've got some really good tips, and I think this counts for when you're on camera as well, of how to look your best. If you can't afford a professional photo.
No, there's some basic things, like the lighting. So these little halo lights are very cheap, or even better, if you get it in natural daylight, get a photo taken. You need to be the main thing in it, not with anybody edited out. So it's obviously like you out socializing or doing what it is, because people, unfortunately, in terms of product placement, they'll look at that and go, there's the product, there's the person. And I'm not saying we all have to look like models, because that's not the case. It's just about, do you look, you're looking at the camera, you look normal, smiley, friendly, or whatever is your professional looking face, so that people, they're not, how can I put this? It's not they're going to go, cool, I've got to employ that person, but you want them to say, there's nothing strange looking about them. They haven't got like something across their face, or there's some weird shadow or
exactly.
or something.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because then people you get judged in 3 seconds these days, especially when it comes on social media. So having that professional photo where you just look like a nice, happy, presentable person that could represent a company or represent your own brand is perfect. And like you say, you can have professional photos if you like to, but even if you just go out into the garden on a nice day where the light's nice, not too sunny but not too cloudy, just put a white sheet behind you on the washing line and have the photo taken. That's good enough. Or even if just in the greenery, something, as long as it's not, like you say, busy behind you, that's perfect.
Underwear, something like that.
Well, yeah, don't do it behind your smalls. I've got some slides to show you a little bit after this of my profile, just to give you an example. I did take a LinkedIn course because I was so confused with LinkedIn. Especially as an actor, as a performer, I didn't see how it would be relevant to me, but it's relevant to every single industry. So I'll show you how I did it after the course I took. But there's some key things in there that LinkedIn looks at to say that whether you're an all-star. Using keywords in your headline, including the industry that you're in and where you are based. People want to hire local, so it is really important to have location in your first bit of your LinkedIn so people know where you're based and what industry you're in. Then there's the summary. It's like your elevator pitch, and you can talk about, it doesn't have to be super formal, it can be really nice and informal. So talk about what you're passionate about and be professional yet conversational. Don't feel like you have to take it straight from your record of achievement. I'm a team player, but I also like to work on my own. You don't have to be the same thing that everybody else writes. Just write personal about you, stand out, professional and conversational. List your skills and be specific. And I think that's where a lot of us as crew we kind of stumble a little bit there, because we forget all the things that we do. We wear so many hats when we're on board an aircraft. We can forget what they are, but be specific. It's really interesting to future employers about what you can do, what you know. Include your education. It's standard. People want to know that you've been educated at some point in your life. You don't need to put that you were a member of maths club or anything like that, unless you're going for a maths club leader. But yeah, and then it's down to connecting with others. You need at least 50 connections to be an all-star on LinkedIn. But don't be spammy. Don't just sign up with a whole load of people that you don't know or that aren't linked to you. In fact, I think you actually get penalized if you try and connect with too many people at once. I think they kind of go, oh, hang on a minute, are you a robot? Yeah. People find out the hard way. If you spam a load of people, you can get blocked on LinkedIn for a little while until you've calmed down. So make them meaningful. People that you've worked with would be great. People that you know in the industry or work around, just link in with people. But I'd send a personal note with each connection. It avoids you being ignored. You can write, when you send an invitation, just write a personal note and just say, oh, hi, my name's Ali. I work in this industry too. Really liked your post on something, or we used to work together. It'd be great to connect. Short and sweet, doesn't have to be a long letter, but just makes it a little bit more personal. If you have media in your industry, whether that's a video of you being interviewed on something, television, or if you've got presentation that you've done, or photographs. I've got photographs of me at Virgin on my profile. It's a point of interest, and it's also something that stands out to people. So include media if you have it. And then when you're kind of set up on LinkedIn, post and share articles that you find interesting related to your industry or the industry that you want to be in. Comment on other posts as well, and start conversations with people. It's about networking, and this is professional networking. So just get down that rabbit hole on LinkedIn, find those articles that really interest you and get involved in the conversation.
So what I'd like to say on that is that it can be quite overwhelming when you first look at it, and you might be thinking, I'm not into all this social media stuff. And I've done a couple of LinkedIn courses, and a couple of things I've taken from it is little and often, and just keep topping up. When you get familiar with it, one of my favorite tips is to turn off 2 buttons, which you'll find in the privacy. And I'm saying this now because as you start fiddling with it, it will do other people's heads in. So the one is about notifications. So if every time you change a photo, a word in your bio or anything, everyone on your network gets notified, which sounds like a great idea. But when you're fiddling around with it and that happens 15 times one day, that does people's heads in.
Yeah,
and the second mistake that I think people make is that there's a button in the background of the settings which is really easy to find, and it says when someone goes to your profile, there's this thing that says, do you want them to look at others similar? So you may have noticed, you go into LinkedIn and it say people who looked at your profile also viewed. You don't want them leaving you to go and look at somebody else. So just a couple of So the main message is have a fiddle with it and do a little and often.
That's a really good tip. And I think it's worth, if you want to really, excel in LinkedIn, and LinkedIn is the one place where industry professionals come together, and it's not about pictures of your dinner and stuff. Do a course. I think I paid, I can't think how much I paid now. I think it was under £100, but it was really good for me because I just learned everything without getting confused, without getting bogged down, and learning those sort of top tips about, not annoying people with your 15 updates because you changed a word or a photo. That's a really good idea. I'll say if Trev can set up the slides for the showing of my profile. Again, I'm no expert. This is just stuff that I've learned, but just to give you an idea. So I have a professional photo in the circle, and then I've also got a banner. You don't have to have a big photo of yourself. I'm just very vain, but if you've got a banner, a photo that it represents your industry, you could get a plane up there. If you've got a website, you can just have a blank thing with your website, something that's of interest. It just really puts a polished feel to the profile if you've got that banner sorted as well and it's personalized. I have in my title Ali Murphy, voice actor. So whenever I post, my job title comes right next to it. Otherwise, it would just say Ali Murphy. And there's a lot of voice actors out there, so I kind of wanted to make sure that people know that I was the voice actor. So put your job title in next to your name. It'll come up, and people will know who you are if you're an expert in your industry. Then I had that little bio there saying who I am. It's worth noting that I can't remember how many words, but it's about the first 5 or 6 words come underneath your name whenever you post something or you comment on someone else's thing. So make sure that they're good and that people know exactly who you are. So I'm describing my voice there, and that I've won an award just to get people hopefully interested in what I do. And then my location.
It's nice and clear, that is. So when I look at that, I can see, I get a sense of space about it, so it's not too busy.
Yeah, that's important.
You straight away at a snapshot, you get what you're about.
Thank you. Yeah, hopefully that's what people can see. If you can go on to the next slide, Trevor, and you can just see the next part of it. When it comes to words, you want to pick out the keywords, and we've all worked with buzzwords when it comes to our job roles in the airline industry. They love a good buzzword. So think of the buzzwords that represent you and represent your industry or the job that you want. Never call yourself aspiring either, because aspiring just immediately puts people off thinking, oh, you've not quite made it yet. So if you want to be a journalist, you are a journalist. So here's my about page. The keywords that I used that I know my clients are looking for, because this about page is also, it's not just about me, it's actually about the people that I serve. So it's about my clients. So this should be about your industry. What can you do for your industry? So I try to be a bit fun. I put any keywords in capital letters, so people are really just skimming through it. They can see, oh, fun, reliable, easy, natural. Okay, connect. I might read some more. So if you've got any key buzzwords, maybe put them in capital letters so they stick out there. But the main thing that I've got for my about page is what I do for my clients. So have a think about what you do for your clients, whether that's an internal customer or whether you have clients for your business that you're doing. That's a really good idea. And then I've put my contact details at the bottom there, where they can find me everywhere.
And just to say something on that first paragraph there is the bit which is most searched by the algorithms, and also there are people who just do LinkedIn research, because the belief is the person that you want for the job that you've got available is already in another job or has a profile which is similar to the sort of person they already want. So they often just will search the key, the keyword search comes up. So that first paragraph is really critical.
Yeah, it really is as well. And especially because people tend to not read very much either. So first paragraphs are always the most critical. You want something to pull people in, but you also don't make it all about you. Make it about them, what you can do what you can do to help someone else, because that's it. That's pretty much every industry. What we're doing is we're helping somebody else do something. If we can get up to the next slide, Trevor. But yeah, have a think about, it's always good I'm a big fan of having just a sheet of paper and a notepad before I do anything, and just writing what, spidergrams, they're really good for what do I do, what keywords describe this.
I think I'd add to that. When you're looking at writing this, it can be quite hideous. So a couple of tips is look at people that are similar to you and take some of the best bits. And if that's too painful, you can always ask somebody who knows you to write it, because they're more likely to use the sort of phrases you'd never say about yourself. And that's really helpful because it gives you another perspective.
That's a really good point. Yeah, ask other people. Yeah, completely. When it comes to your experience, again, my experience is I try to make it about my clients rather than me. I think this particularly applies for the last year. People might have done multiple jobs since being made redundant. There's a lot of people that have gone from job to job when they've been just, trying to get some money coming in. So don't always feel like you have to list every single employer if you've worked as a temp, or if you're doing different things, or if you're being a virtual assistant, anything like that. You can just list things here because it's experience, it's what you've done. You don't need to make your CV 20 pages long by listing every single thing you've ever worked for. You can just put here self-employed, or temping work, and list everything that you've done there, and make it about your clients as well. Make it about your customers or your industry or your employers, what you've done to help them. If we could put onto the next slide. Sorry, Trevor, didn't give you enough time there to think about that.
So keeps on his toes, doesn't it? He's like, we can't have him relax.
Yeah. Trevor's busy working behind the scenes to get these things moving forward. I hope
How many connections do you have on your? How many connections do you have on yours?
I don't know. It's over 500. The only thing I would say is that I don't accept everybody, because I get the most random requests. I've got one US Marine that is particularly keen on. I've never replied, so I've never turned him down, because I don't want to, I don't want him to keep on asking, but he keeps withdrawing his application and then going back again. So, make it relevant. Otherwise, you're going to get lost in the post that you want to talk about, the post that you want to see from people that you want to work with. If you've got like a million friends, people that you're never going to work with, you're never going to make that valuable connection with. It's not a numbers game in LinkedIn. You want over 50, which is pretty easy when it comes to the airline industry to know 50 people, but still make them quality connections. Otherwise, you're just going to get a whole load of spam on your feed. And here, I was just going to show you the media that I've got as well. So, and also to list your past jobs. I've got, my work as cabin crew doesn't have much of an impact on the job that I do now, but it's a point of interest and it's a point of conversation. So if you've got a good, CV behind you of interesting jobs, put them there. And I put pictures to relate that as well, because it's just something that people can talk about. Oh my God, you sat in an engine, or whatever it might be that you've got a photo of there.
Ali, there's a sort of debate when I did a couple of these courses, and one of the ones was not to put anything on over 10 years old. And others have said, no, put the full range. And I've done both at different stages. I wonder what your view is on that.
My view, I think if it's not that interesting, if you, worked in a newsagent in 1976, you maybe don't need to put a whole post about that. But I think there's certain points in your life, there's some fascinating older people that have worked incredible jobs and having had incredible experiences that impact the person that they are today, the employee they are today, or the business that they are today. So I think, you can be selective with what you put, but certainly, it doesn't have to be just the last 10 years. If it was just the last 10 years, that would have been 6 years of Virgin for me and 4 years as a self-employed person. But the 14 years I had as cabin crew are interesting, so I want to tell people those. And yes. there's so many interesting. So I'm more of you can be selective. You don't have to put everything, but definitely don't feel like you can only do 10 years worth of experience, because people have got way more stories than that these days. Lovely. I don't think there's another slide on LinkedIn. So Paul, I was going to ask you, because we were talking the other day about you're doing Facebook Lives. How do you think that impacts people doing Facebook Lives as part of a business, or somebody who's maybe looking for work?
Well, I think, to rewind slightly, the reason for Facebook Lives is that, I'm talking to a certain demographic. This brings us back to a point. So I would say, as a minimum, everyone should have a LinkedIn profile that's pretty decent. Definitely. And then after that, where do your people hang out? And that's where you want to be doing. So if you are going to use social media as a vehicle, then you start looking around at all of them, it's overwhelming. And the reality is, if you're my age, I didn't even know a phone, let alone social media account. My kids say to me, what phone did you have at school? And I say, we barely had computers, let alone
attached
phones.
to the wall.
I used to do standby's crew on a landline because we weren't allowed out. It's just so it's not something that's natural. So I would say pick the one. So the reason I pick Facebook is because it's probably your 30s upwards type age group. Now, of course, people younger than that are not barred from going on it, but if you talk to anybody younger than that sort of age, they tend to sort of be on Instagram or other places. So I have gone Facebook Live, and I've done other things on there, but I'm still not an expert, because one of the things I've realized is that every time I think I've got a little bit better at it, I look at somebody else's profile and I realize there's always, so my tip would be just accept that you're good enough. And whatever you're doing, as long as you keep chipping away at it, you're improving it. Because if every time I go back, I think, I can't believe I've written that. And I take something out, and it's a little iterations. So in time, if you take the incremental model, that's why I started doing Facebook Lives, because I thought I saw other people doing this. It's relevant to the thing that I'm doing right now, but I wouldn't suggest other people do it unless it's completely, that's where your people hang out.
It's really interesting you say that, because for me personally, I don't do anything really on Facebook, because the people that I want to work with are usually production companies. They're not individual people, whereas you work with individual people and they do have Facebook. So, when you're doing Facebook Lives or when you're doing any posts like that, you're going to be reaching individuals. Whereas for me, that'd be like shouting into a void and really just shouting at my friends. On Instagram, I can find creative people. So it's a really good idea to think about where your ideal customer, your ideal company that you want to work for, where are they hanging out? And that's where you need to be. That's a really good point there.
The interesting thing is that once you learn one platform pretty well, you can translate that. So, Facebook owns Instagram. So there's lots of similarities, although they have completely different demographics that they're shooting at. You can still transfer those skills across. And, I've got a Twitter account. I post something on there occasionally, but it's like you said, there's so much on there that you just
have a lot of noise, and you've got to speak over it, really.
It's a bit like mind junk food, isn't it? You can just pour through these things. I need to be on all these things. I need to be monitoring, and actually you're better off finding one or two that you can work with,
best I think, concentrate your efforts on the one or two that really speak to you, then filtering it all through. Because again, I was taught as well, if you post something on LinkedIn or Instagram, don't do the same post across every single social media, because all you do is you're just watering down the engagement that you get with other people. And it is all about engagement. Some things sometimes, like if I've done a post, I think, that will do well on Instagram as well, then I'll pop it on Instagram, Twitter or whatever, but I'll try not to do it on every single platform, and especially not all at the same time. If you can space them out, or maybe do a different picture or a different viewpoint, or a different you can talk about similar themes but maybe match it to the platform.
I still have to say my favorite, although when I first came across it I thought it's really dull, I still think LinkedIn is where it's very searchable and people respect it, because it's like a modern CV, and if you've got things on there, so I ask people for recommendations. So over time, I've probably got about 30-ish on there now over the last few years. A friend of mine's up in the 80 or 90. And people trust them because they know that somebody's had to put their name to it. And if you've got more than a handful, it looks like, so when did you last buy anything without reading the reviews? And so if you use your LinkedIn and you've got recommendations and people are interested in you, they will look through those. So I think it's worth doing that, because it gives people a sense of trust when they look at you.
That's really good. Trust is a really good word for it. I was trying to think what it is there. It's trusted. It's about standing out from, there is an awful lot of people who will be looking for new jobs, looking for new careers. And if you are polished on everything, then there's not going to be any questions. They're not going to be like, oh yeah, but did you see the LinkedIn was a bit bare and stuff. It won't be an issue. You had a solid profile and you're respectable. Trevor's going to bring up another slide in just a second, just about a few tips for general social media. So this isn't just LinkedIn. This is pretty much on every single platform. And we talked about using keywords, and you can do them in your bio as well. I know you're usually limited when it comes to Twitter and Instagram on how many words you can use, but use just a few keywords so I think people will be searching for, and that will help them find you and your location. Again, connect with others in your local area and industry. You know, be the local person. I mean, I know that there's quite a few companies around my area that use a similar hashtag, and it's we're from Surrey, so it's hashtag Surrey Life or hashtag Surrey Business. I follow those hashtags because I get to see what the businesses around me are doing, and I can connect them if I think I can help them, work with them, do something with them. So look at your local area, because people always like local. They do like to think, oh, that person's just down the road and they know this area, they know the people that we work with, so
Can I throw in a caveat to that? Because I think I've noticed something in the last 6 months, which I don't know if this will continue. I was coaching somebody last week who's based in Bristol. He's taken a job in London, and they wouldn't have looked at him before. But because of this hybrid working that we've got now,
that's true.
So I think the local thing is important, but I wouldn't let it put you off, because
don't be restricted. No, absolutely, yeah. And even in the acting world, they've started saying that they are going to have, everything's been so London centric, and probably the same for similar industries or different industries, I should say. Everything's been all based on London, but now they realise that the world is their oyster now. They can literally be working with someone from the other side of the world. So yeah. Don't restrict yourself to local, but also local's a good place to start. If you're not sure where to start in a 25-mile radius around you, see what you're looking for.
I interrupted your flow. Go on, carry on.
No, not at all. You're continuing my flow. Use hashtags to connect with potential employers or clients. I always see what hashtags the people I want to work with are using, and I use them as well, because they're looking at those as well. So whether that would be what industry you're in, the area that you're in, something funny, use hashtags. Don't go crazy and use 50 on each post, but use hashtags that are relevant whilst being professional. And follow those who you admire. If there's people who work in the industry that you really like, follow them, see what they're doing right, see what they're doing wrong, see where you position in all of those. Somebody described, especially like Instagram, that it's like a magazine about you. It's all your best features, so show your best self. I know a lot of people love to have a good old rant, especially on Twitter and Facebook, but if you're currently looking to put your best self forward, maybe keep it non-political, non-ranty, because you never know who you're going to put off by, and not necessarily because they've got different views to you. It's just sometimes think, oh god, that person's always going on again about the same thing, or just have a think about how you view, or maybe just put your profile to private so only your friends can see your rants. If you really want to just carry on talking about things that you're passionate about, maybe just keep that profile to private so that future employees can't see how angry you might be at certain things in life.
I personally wouldn't risk it, because the trouble is, anything that written, any picture, once you press that send, that's it. It's gone. It's never in your control again, even if it's on. So I think I'm always a little bit careful with stuff like that,
I'm the same. I don't talk about anything that could upset anybody.
I don't have any strong opinions, to be honest. So it's
I'm a bit vanilla as well. No, it's true. I try just not get into arguments with people more than anything, for my own mental health. But
exactly.
It's a tricky one. I know people who have these passions.
It's a mental health cul-de-sac if you end up getting sucked into these things, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And we all know about screenshotters, especially in our little industry. There's been a few screenshots crimes. So just be careful about what you put on there. But also be genuine. People want to connect with the real you. So if you are a cat crazy, talk about your cats. If you have some interesting passions that not many people know about, talk about that. People want individuals. You don't have to be a cardboard cutout of every single employee out there. I think it's interesting to have little quirks and fun little things, as long as it's not like collecting teeth or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
And a show behind the scenes in your life. I used to do it really well, but now I have a child, so nobody wants to see my behind the scenes. It mainly deals with a screaming
This
toddler.
is quite a good one for, particularly if you're growing a business, because I heard this tip recently, a business networking thing I was at, and they were saying, taking photos as you go along, even though you've got nothing really to show, is something then you can talk about, rather than waiting until you're the finished article and going, look, here I am, here's the opening. Your struggle, your journey is interesting to people,
Yeah, it's a process, and people want to learn about that sort of thing. There was a fascinating girl that I did a marketing course with that paints resin boxes, and she did a little video and said, I don't know if anyone's interested, but here's how I watched that video for 4 minutes. It was amazing, just watching people's process. Actually, the other day I watched an entire video of a woman cleaning a kitchen drawer. Don't know why, it was fascinating. But people want to know some behind the scenes stuff in your personal business. Like you say, it's probably better.
You really push the envelope, don't you? Crikey.
Yeah, life's pretty dull in lockdown. Cleaning kitchen drawers. No, it's just one of those weird things. I kind of feel like, why am I still watching this?
No judgment, Ali. Do you know something I was thinking about? Because I'm not sure, because I know the guys are quite keen to keep this fairly brief, but there's a couple of things that I don't know what else is coming up, but there was something that I wanted to say, which is a little phrase that someone said to me years ago, and I think it's really applicable to this. And they always say it's not what you know, it's who you know, and that naturally it's not that true. It's not who you know, it's who knows you. Yes, and so the point of the network is really important. And the other thing to say is that once when I was made redundant a few years ago, I went on some of these resettlement courses, and they said that once you get above 40, 60 to 70% of your likelihood of getting the job is actually going to be through people you already know or your network. It's very unlikely to be that random advert in that you'll see up on some job board. And I thought that was quite interesting, because when I think about most of my jobs, it's been through somebody who's recommended me, or I just happened to have a conversation, and not through any, just once through the official channel, but every other time it's been a link to a link to a link. I don't know if it's been the same for you or not.
Well, absolutely. I think it's the same for people who have their own businesses and self-employed people. You're more likely to get business through referrals. So it's exactly the same, I think, when looking for jobs. I think, especially if you've had that much experience, if you're over the age of 40 or whatever, and you've got all those years of experience, there are people there that know you, that trust you. And like you say, people need to have trust. They need to know, okay, if I'm going to hire this person over the other person, it's because I really trust them, and my friend knows them and trusts them as well. So it's absolutely
be braver, less British, and ask for referrals and ask for recommendations, particularly if you've done a good job, to say, who else do you think would be interested? Because they probably know people like them who might be interested in what you're doing. And recommendations for LinkedIn, like I said already, when you do something, or you work somewhere, or you've worked with somebody, ask for recommendations. They're just so powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. And that kind of brings us nicely on to rules of engagement. And that's talking about engaging with people that you know, but also people that you don't know. So I've mentioned it before, be a professional. Don't be an aspiring, I think, because, again, it's all about trust. If you put aspiring, people won't trust that you have the experience or the knowledge. When you do, you just maybe haven't booked your first job yet. In any private messages that you do to people, introduce yourself short and sweet. Not creepy. Again, don't mention the teeth collecting, but do just kind of keep it brief and friendly. Exactly, yeah. The most important thing I'd say is like, comment, follow, and share. And that goes across all of the platforms. It's not all about your profile. It's about the engagement you have with others. People like comments. If somebody comments on your post, put a reply back to them, because it boosts up the comments as well. It makes it look as if your post is way more popular, and the algorithms do like that. And share other people's articles. Sharing's caring. If somebody's done something good, tell them. If somebody is something you can share that's relevant to your industry, share it. What's that?
Did you plan that one? Sharing's caring. I'm gonna write that one down.
It's a bit cheesy, isn't it?
That's all right. No, you're right. Because people like it, and they like it. They like it.
find common interests that you have with people. I have a couple of clients who, we probably wouldn't be best pals in real life, but we have kids that are the same age, or we both really like a certain TV show. So it doesn't necessarily all have to be about business. If somebody mentions something that you have that common interest, talk about it. It's what networking is. It's building relationships like this. And all else fails, email the company direct. Introduce yourself. Say that you're interested in what they do. You really like something. Go on their website, pull something up. If they've won an award, or if they've worked on something really recently that you just loved, tell them how it made you feel, and also talk about what you can do for them. Introduce yourself and just make yourself known to the company. It doesn't always have to be through these strict channels, getting a job at the job office and replying that way. If you like something, tell people. People are human and they like to hear that they've done something well and that it's reached other people.
I think, as long as, when it's done, you sound like a very proactive individual, and maybe people listening thinking I could never do that. But the comment I'll always say is just, what's the worst that's going to happen? What is the worst that can happen? So they ignore it. But if it comes from a good place, you've done something, and it's always just about doing, particularly at the moment, if you're still sort of looking for something, is doing something every day as a habit, even if it's just a couple of things, updating the profile, contact somebody, do a bit of research, and over time, those little incremental bits build up to a lot of stuff. So it makes you feel more positive and proactive.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, taking that little step forward does wonders for the confidence. So try something new and be brave, and see how it makes you feel.
So we got this comment here saying referrals count for 50% of my new pupils, and I think that's
absolutely.
It's worth asking. Anyway, if it's a business thing. There's a question here.
LinkedIn is useful. I just dived in and didn't try to be anyone else. It can be daunting if you think everyone is a senior exec, but there's some seriously quirky professional people out there. It's quite encouraging. There really is. There's some wonderful people out there. And I find as well the quirky ones are the ones that have kind of made the biggest success because they've just gone for it. They've taken chances, and that's what I actually wanted to add on that one there is don't get despondent if you don't get a reply, because people are busy as well. So if if you email somebody and you don't get a reply straight away that day, maybe follow up a week or so later, maybe a month later, and follow up if you have more to say. But don't feel bad if they don't reply.
Yeah, I wanted to say something around that because I was on a course recently, because I go on a lot of courses because I'm a learning junkie. And I found that there was this one chap who talked about it takes 7 to 12 times of being contacted before somebody was likely to respond to you. So they don't know you at all. And so you drop them an email. He had this statistic that something like 90% of emails are just ignored. So because people are so overloaded with things, but if you're professional, persistent, and you've got good intent, that you've got something good to offer, then the right thing to do is to keep going with this and send another email, find another way to contact, or even get a phone number to give them a call. But there are ways that it's doing something makes you feel much more that you're in control of things, even rather than just this kind of big kind of, I don't know what to do, I don't know where to go next, and it's all overwhelming. Just doing something, even little things every day, can make you feel a lot more empowered.
Yeah, I mean, there's people. I took my first marketing course 4 years ago, and I sent out about 100 emails, and there's people who are just replying to me now, and it's been 4 years, and I'll update them. I usually update about 3 times a year, just kind of, really liked what you did, or I'll find something on their Twitter or on their social media that they did, so I can just comment saying, just dropping in to say hello. If there's anything I can do for you, just let me know. And then, 4 years later, they'll come back and go, oh, I'm so sorry I haven't replied until now. So it really does work, and don't take it personally.
But if you went on a first date with someone, you wouldn't go, oh, by the way, I brought my parents to cut out a couple of levels, and where would you like to go for the honeymoon?
Building a relationship.
You can't commit straight away. So it's the same with a business relationship. They're becoming, whoa. So if you go straight on, you just met them, you're going in for the snog. That's it's too soon, isn't it?
And on that note as well, it is very much like building a personal relationship with the professional relationship. I was speaking to a casting director that she put out an email and said, looking for these people, and one person had replied to this email, and then the next day, because she hadn't replied straight away, was like, why haven't you replied to my email? Turned into the crazy guy. So he's not going to get any work from them. No. So also chill. Think of it as a relationship. How would you feel receiving that email? How would that make you feel? So
I think there's something. If you've set a goal, your goal is I want to get into this type of industry or this type of job, and then you take action. So as long as you've got somewhere you're heading toward and you're doing something towards it, you're more likely to attract more of that stuff towards you. And I don't want to get all woo-woo, but you're going to start picking up the cues which are relevant to you. But if you just sort of scattergun out to everybody, then it's not going to land well, because it sounds desperate.
It sounds desperate, and it's not personal as well. It's not targeted. It's not individual. You feel like that girl in the bar where it's the end of the night and everyone's just trying to go home with somebody. No one wants to feel like that. All these analogies that we're coming up with.
Yes, it's getting down. It's getting a bit dark now. So, are there any questions out there that perhaps we could just, because I'm aware that's 40 minutes. You've done some really good content there, and we've really touched quite a lot of things in a very short space of time.
Yeah. Oh, here's some of the, I do 5 to 10 promotional things, promo related things daily. I work on the 5% rule of success. Yes. Most things you won't hear back from, but the ones you do are gold. You'll strike it if you keep going and don't give up. This has worked with the national press, for example. There, very good point. Yeah, it's a numbers game. I think the main takeaway from this is don't feel disheartened if you don't hear back from every single person, and if you don't hear back straight away. People are busy, they have lives, or maybe they just don't need you just right now, but they'll have you there in the back of the mind. And if you've been that kind, professional, trustworthy person, then you'll be the guy that they come to.
And for me, it'd be just keep it really simple. Definitely do your LinkedIn, because that's the professional, that's the credible, the CV, the modern CV. It saves you having to do a CV most of the time, because you can just refer people to it if you're proud of it. And there's a lot of customization you can do if you just have a fiddle around all of these, and then pick a social media platform that's relevant to where you want to hang out. And nearly all of them, LinkedIn's a classic. They do LinkedIn Learning, where you can learn how to use LinkedIn. Facebook do the same. Google Ads, whatever you're looking to do, they want you to spend money with them, or to at least dwell with them. Even with LinkedIn, you can do a lot for free, but ultimately they want you to go down the premium route. So they offer lots and lots and lots of free stuff for you to learn about. So that's what I'd say. Keep it simple. Go for one or two.
Do the free trials, and I think we can end on that note. Thank you so much, Paul. It's been so good just chatting to you.
I've learned a few things as well. I've just jotted it down.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, me too. And if anybody has any questions, or if there's any future shows that people would like to hear something specific about, just let us know. We're hoping to target some different topics with these shorter shows, and hopefully help you guys find your next dream career. So thank you so much, Paul. Have a good evening. Lovely to see everybody. And we'll see you next time on Not Just Crew.
Take care.
Bye.
Not Just Crew has been internationally inspired by you.